Hey guys, so today I want to do a little comparison between the Sennheiser IE80s and the Campfire Audio Polaris V2s that I got recently. So just to give you guys a little background, I've had the IE80s for about 5 years, and before that I had its predecessor, which was the IE8, and I've been very happy with these. So if you couldn't tell, I'm a pretty big fan of Sennheiser and the IE80 series, and I'd recommend them to anyone that is looking for a fun, wide soundstage headphone. And I've even seen these go for, I don't know, $80, $100 on AV Exchange, which is a great price for these headphones. So on the other side here, I've got the Campfire Audio Polaris, and I've had these for about 2 months, so they're relatively new to me. But I just wanted to take some time today and kind of talk about my experience with each. So to quickly compare the two physical features, the Polaris is definitely the more premium feeling headphone. It's got an all metal design. The cable feels a lot nicer. This is a new cable for the V2 version. It's a smoky cable, and it's got this little ear hook here that is flexible. It's got a little spring to it, and I know that some other versions of the Campfire Audio headphones have a like a hard it's one of those ear hooks that you can kind of bend into place and it stays there, which isn't the greatest for keeping the headphone in your ear. But so I definitely like this spring hook design instead of the rigid designs. So I don't want to knock the IE80s too much here. It's an all plastic design, but that does have some advantages to it because as you're taking these around, it will resist nicks or scratches a little bit better than the aluminum enclosure of the Polaris. So another thing to mention is that the IE80s have this bass knob here, which is kind of a gimmick in my opinion, but I do have it turned all the way up. I am kind of a bass head, you could say, but pretty familiar with these by now. A lot of people are. And then another thing to mention on the Polaris is that there's the nice MMCX connector up top here, which is far superior to this Sennheiser connector, which is all plastic, and then the housing is plastic too, and you kind of just feel like you're going to break it every time you unplug and plug it back in. So they both have their own lifespan, but I feel like the MMCX is a much more durable connector. So some of the requirements that I have for a daily IEM is that it can be used for music as well as gaming. So I do quite a bit of PC gaming, and I use a desktop microphone to capture my voice, and then I use my IEMs for my headphones. I'm not a big headphone user, like an over-the-ear style. I definitely prefer the IEM format, so that's why I've had these for so long. But so what I'm looking for in an IEM or any headphone is a big soundstage, good imaging, and a good bass response for fun. So a lot of competitive players out there will claim that too much bass will degrade your imaging or take away from that directional audio. But I still want to have that low end bass for the fun factor. So the IE80s were what I thought to be the perfect IEM for me. I've had them for so long. They sound great. There's no sibilance or harshness in the upper end of the spectrum, and I've been known to be pretty sensitive to the high frequencies. I can pick up sibilance pretty easily. They have a great soundstage, which is needed for games. I've got these clear silicone tips on here right now, and these clear tips are ones that I found from an off-brand no-name headphone, and I decided to try them, and they actually improve the soundstage for when I'm playing games. These black tips here are the ones from Sennheiser, and they I'll swap these on for when I'm listening to music. It just it gives a little more bass response, and they're also a little more comfortable as well. Been pretty happy with the IE80s until I discovered the Polaris. And the Polaris does everything that the IE80s do, except they do it better. They have more low-end response, an even wider soundstage, which I didn't think was even possible. And they also sound better on the high end of the spectrum as well, without being overly harsh. And that was a big requirement for me. So I would attribute that to the hybrid design of the Polaris versus the single dynamic driver of the IE80s. So the Polaris will get slightly sibilant at times. I noticed that if I have, especially if I'm listening to loud volumes, that would be kind of the biggest thing that I would take away from the Polaris, is that they can be a little bit sibilant up top, but if anything, I almost feel like it can add to the detail at times. It's not something that is a game breaker by any means, but it's just kind of something that I've noticed as I've listened to them over the last couple weeks. So another thing I want to talk about is I got a comment in one of my other videos about using a balanced cable with the Polaris IEMs, and I actually bought these used on AV Exchange, and they came with a balanced cable, which you see here. I have used this a little bit. It is thicker than the Smoky cable that it came with the Polaris, and so for that reason, it really isn't as comfortable. It doesn't fit over your ears as well, and I have to use an adapter, to hook it up to my computer. This is one's from Theo. So I tried it. It wasn't like night and day better performance for me, so I decided to go back to the unbalanced cable. I do know that Campfire Audio, or I've been told actually that Campfire Audio makes a balanced version of the Smoky cable, which I would, if that's the case, I would definitely want to check that out. So yeah, that kind of concludes my thoughts on these two IEMs here. Like I said, I like them for music and gaming. That's kind of my requirement. I know that's kind of a tall order for a lot of IEMs, but I am very happy with the Polaris IEMs here. They'll be my daily IEMs for a long time, just like the IE80s were. I'll still have these around just to keep and hang on to. But yeah, if you guys like the video, feel free to subscribe if you want. And I hope to make more videos about my hobbies. Thanks for watching.